Alright, so you click on the video and you're like expecting to see a DJI AVATA in this video, but you're like, what's this thing I'm seeing on the screen? And this is a more traditional hobby grade FPV bind and fly drone. This is the Synolog 30 from GetRC. I actually don't have the DJI AVATA. I did watch a few videos, not all of them. I didn't have time to watch all of them. And I just wanted to give like sort of my opinion on this system, who it might be good for and who it's probably not going to be good for. I got a lot of questions from people asking me to at least provide some sort of perspective about this, at least from a few different standpoints, and from a beginner standpoint, that's just wanting to get into flying versus someone who's been flying for a while. So if you don't know my channel, not familiar with my content, I've been making FPV videos for probably about 6 years now. I've been flying FPV drones for more than 5 years now. So I've got a lot of experience with building my own drones, buying and fly drones, everything from beginner kits to small little tiny whoops to 7-inch large long-range drones. So I have a wide variety of experience. So I feel like I can give a little bit of background on this new system from DJI and what it really means for, I guess, my regular viewers that watch my regular content all the time versus someone that's just coming along and wants to know whether or not they should invest their $1,400 into this DJI AVATA system and if they're going to be able to fly like other FPV pilots. This is what this video is going to be about. This system, the DJI AVATA system, is, the bundle. It comes with the Cinewhoop, the goggles, the second generation goggles, the Goggles 2, and the motion controller. And that's like the main bundle that they're promoting. The other bundle, which is a little bit cheaper, maybe like a couple $100 cheaper, has the same motion controller and of course the AVATA, but it comes with the first gen goggles. So seems like this system, the video transmission system, which uses the OcuSync 3, looks like, is compatible with both goggles, which is interesting. I'll talk about a little bit later. But because they're promoting mainly the motion controller in the bundle, they're targeting people that have never flown FPV drones before, and they're targeting people that are mainly in their primary market, or the people that primarily buy DJI products. And for those of you who aren't familiar with DJI products, they're very easy to use, very intuitive. Basically anyone can buy like a Mavic and watch a few tutorial videos, not invest a whole lot of time, and be up and flying. Of course, it's got the GPS and the position hold and all that, so it's relatively safe for most people, and they've had great success with that, and gotten a lot of people in the air with their aerial platform drones. Obviously the Mavic series has been their most successful series, getting a lot of people flying drones. But transitioning to these sort of hobby grade FPV drones is quite a bit different. And with the AVATA, they only have the sensors on the bottom for altitude hold and position hold. It has GPS and return to home, of course, like all the DJI products. But because they're bundling this mainly with the motion controller, they're targeting people that really aren't used to using the joysticks or the typical hobby grade controllers, and more like a video game type controller in terms of like the experience of how to fly the drone. And of course, in those modes, it's very easy to fly. It's very much like a regular DJI GPS drone. There's a pause button. You can stop, and then it'll just basically lock its position, and you can take the goggles off, take a break, whatever, hit return to home, all that kind of stuff if you want to stop, versus the manual mode. And something that I do want to note is that I watched a lot of not a lot, but I've watched a few of the reviews, and I did note that a lot of these reviewers who don't normally fly FPV drones never really flew it in manual mode, which is the actual mode that most people fly FPV drones in, which is basically there's no safety features. It's more obviously much easier to crash, etc. And that's why they don't they're not targeting the main bundle with the RC controller. You have to buy that separately. So what they're doing is like, okay, buy the bundle with the motion controller, learn how to fly first, fly in a simulator, etc. Maybe buy the RC controller and use that in a simulator. And then later on, as you advance in your skill and you want to learn how to fly in manual mode, then move up to the RC controller, and that's going to be more like the regular FPV, flying experience that most people that have been flying for a long time. So for those of you guys that have been flying for a long time, you're like, well, why would I want to buy this? I already know how to build stuff. I already know how to fly. And my answer to you is, of course you don't want to buy this. This is why I'm not going to buy this. I have, for me, myself, I have no need for it. It doesn't serve any purpose for me other than I might be able to make a couple of videos about it, but I'm not going to invest $1,400 to do that, to make a couple of videos that, might get 10,000 views and I'll get $10 for it from YouTube. That's not really worth it for me. But what is interesting about this product is that it opens up the door and sort of a path forward for pilots that have been primarily flying DJI drones, like the Mavic, and want to move into FPV style drones. This is sort of an interesting path forward that I think is going to be pretty useful for those people. Not obviously for me and for a lot of people in my audience that mainly already know how to fly FPV drones, but if you only know how to fly a Mavic and you don't want to invest basically the time and the energy in learning how to fly a real FPV drone, which is, you got to know how to do beta flight, and there's a learning curve, all kinds of stuff you have to learn in terms of like getting all the components to work together. That's a big barrier, and one of the reasons why a lot of these Mavic pilots don't want to invest the time into that, especially they look at things like these beginner FPV kits that they're relatively inexpensive. I mean, like $300, but they're analog video, and a lot of them will never fly analog video. They look at it and they're like, okay, that's not flyable. I'm not going to touch that, and so they're never going to get into FPV that way. So DJI here, they're not looking at the regular FPV market that's been sort of been around for the last 5-6 years. They're looking at their the market that they've already been selling their Mavics to, and they're targeting those guys who have a desire to learn this stuff and maybe eventually fly manual mode, and they give them a product that kind of gives them a path forward towards that. That's what this product's for. It's not for the people that have already been flying for many years. So that being said, in terms of the product itself, the product seems durable. Again, I watched a few videos. Seems like people were crashing them, but I do want to note that they were probably crashing these in like the regular mode or the sport mode, probably not going that fast. And those kind of crashes aren't going to be the same as the crashes you're going to experience in manual mode. So it'll be interesting to see later on when people do eventually transition from, sort of the tricycle, like basically the baby steps mode to the full-on acro mode, the professional mode. I really want to see what kind of those crashes are going to look like. The drone does seem to be fairly durable, and otherwise, obviously every crash is different, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people that buy it, and within the first 5 minutes they'll have a crash and it'll be destroyed. So, again, I think you have to consider the cost. It's $1,400. You probably want to buy the DJI Care, whatever, that insurance, whatever. So if you do crash it, you can send it in and get a replacement, obviously at a cost. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but that's how that stuff typically works. So it does seem like if you are starting out without any experience at all, looks like it's going to be fairly durable for most minor stuff. But once you get into manual mode, not really sure. All bets are off at that point, because those kind of crashes can be pretty gnarly, and I'm pretty sure that you'll have some broken parts. At least at the very least, the propeller guards are going to break in a lot of those crashes. Now, on another topic here regarding the second-gen goggles that work with the Avata, the smaller versions, currently they don't work with the older DJI FPV system, the Gen 1 system with the full-size air unit and the air unit light, or the Vista. There is a petition out there that I'll put a link in the description if you want to go there, and if you're interested in having a DJI make that compatible, those goggles compatible with the old hardware, that would be kind of a game changer, because I think one of the advantages of the walk snail system is a smaller goggle versus the larger Gen 1 DJI goggle. And if they can make the Gen 2 goggle, which is nice and small and compact, and make that compatible with the older hardware, then that'll bring, obviously they'll be able to sell a lot more goggles. But I think the reason why DJI is not making that compatible for now is probably because they know there's going to be high demand for that, and they want to be able to they want to make sure that there's enough of those goggles available for people that buy the Avata, their actual normal customers, their actual larger customer base. They're more interested in servicing them first. So I have a feeling, obviously because of hardware shortages, etc., they probably did not enable that in the current firmware for that reason. This is my speculation, and of course, all this is my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. And I have a feeling that at some point in the future, after they've sort of gotten all the initial customers onto the Avata, that they think in terms of like their projections and marketing and etc., they're going to probably put out a firmware update that will make the goggles, or the second gen goggles, compatible with the old hardware. So things are going to change, but I don't know exactly how it's going to change in the future or when that's going to change, but that's my speculation. But I'm thinking that, again, DJI is primarily servicing their primary customers, which is a much larger customer base than the FPV customers. I mean, I would say, if you want to compare the market sizes, the FPV customer base is probably like 1 or 2% of their entire customer base at best, is my estimation. So are they going to pay attention to the 1 or 2% that make a lot of noise, or are they going to service the 90-95% of the people that actually, spend billions of dollars on their products? Well, you know what the right answer is. They're going to focus on the people that are actually giving them the larger portion of their income. Anyway, this is going to be it in terms of this topic on the Avata. If you have any questions about that, let me know down in the comments below. I'm probably not going to make any more content about the Avata unless DJI magically sends me one and just shows up at my front door. Perhaps then I'll make some more content. But it's really, honestly, the system's not for me. It's not going to be for the majority of people that are in my audience. But I think that if you are a Mavic pilot and you're looking to get into FPV, this is a viable path forward to getting to there. It'll work. I think DJI is looking out for those guys. If you're a Mavic pilot, you have a path forward there. It's definitely on the pricey side in terms of cost, but you definitely get in the air within a few minutes, especially if you've flown any other DJI products in the past. All right, questions and comments down in the comment section below. I'll talk to you guys in the next video.